The city of El Paso. It is a city right on the border between Mexico and the United States. El Paso is surrounded by various towns and suburbs: Anthony, Clint, San Elizario, Horizon, Favens, Fort Bliss, Socorro. Juarez, Mexico is also just across the bridge, and just across the Texas state line is Chaparral and Santa Teresa, New Mexico as well. Although it abides in the dry Chihuahuan desert, the scenery in and around El Paso is beautiful, with the Franklin Mountains and the Rio Grande being the two most prominent features. But of course, there is much more to the city than just its look. Let's dive into the history of El Paso, Texas, more specifically, the last 25 years. Now, the term history seems to give people the idea of war and men in white curly wigs. Although that may somewhat be true for the United States, that's not necessarily the case for El Paso. However, there are still various events that have contributed to the city's history. Long before the instant access to news and information, newspaper was a very vital part of the lives of many. In 1999, the newspaper El Diario de Juárez changed its name to simply El Diario. This was done to better serve the readers not only in Mexico, but in El Paso as well. The newspaper was still Juárez specific, but it began publishing once-weekly sections on El Paso. Eventually, El Diario del Paso was established in 2005. This was a great step forward for El Paso and its Spanish-American culture. The following year, in 2006, wasn't such a great advance, however. Starting with thunderstorms and a power outage on July 27th, heavy rain did not stop. By the 30th, there were 2 to 3 inches of rain, and by August 1st, there were 8. Such storms and floods resulted in about $450 million in damage. About 100 million gallons of water were taken off the street and put into various basins and channels, and the rebuilding of the damages, especially on the west side, took many years. Although that was certainly a big event for the city, there was also another event that made it to national news. In 2010, a surveillance drone said to be owned by the Mexican government crashed in El Paso. At the time, there were many questions about how and why this drone got onto our land in the first place. However, it was later discovered that the drone was used for law enforcement and homeland security, and operators simply lost control, causing the crash. Unrelated to such events, there was a big change for the city in the downtown a few years later. El Paso City Hall was demolished to make room for the Southwest University Park baseball stadium. The multi-million-dollar stadium was approved in 2013 and City Hall was demolished, all 11 stories of it. Former El Paso Mayor Ray Salazar had filed a 2013 lawsuit to stop the demolition, claiming that it was a misuse of public funds by the city officials. However, the lawsuit was dismissed in court. Southwest University Park opened the following year in 2014, and it became the home for the El Paso Chihuahuas baseball team. The final event from El Paso's history that we will be discussing is much more recent, and I'm sure many of us remember this. This event occurred in 2019. A terrorist mass shooting at a Walmart killed 23 people and injured 22 others. Patrick Wood Crucius was the man at fault for this. The mass shooting was admitted to be racially motivated. Crucius' motivation to kill Hispanics because they were immigrating to the US landed him with 90 consecutive life sentences. As a result of this horrifying incident, there was still something positive that came out of it. As a result of all of this tragedy, the term El Paso Strong came to be. Many organizations, businesses, schools, and individuals placed that slogan everywhere, and the unity of the city was very evident. Well, El Paso has truly seen it all. The last 25 years for the city have been filled with various events, from damages to improvements to even death. Regardless of what has happened, they have all shaped the city into what it is today, and well, I think it's quite a beautiful thing.